Welcome. You're watching The Moody Lawyer. Justice served with experience and integrity.
Hello and welcome to The Moody Lawyer with attorney Josh Moody. With a rich background in law enforcement and a comprehensive legal career spanning criminal justice, personal injury, and civil matters, Josh offers a unique perspective on navigating the complexities of the legal system. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is Your Community, Your Lawyer, the Power of Local Expertise. Josh, so great to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kevin.
So as a local attorney, how does your knowledge of the local courts and the community give you an edge when it comes to handling personal injury cases?
It's one of those things, you can, as an attorney in California, you can walk into any courtroom and pretty much know what to do, how to present yourself. But every court and every judge has a different way of doing things, has a different way of running their calendar. And even the judicial assistants, they have, people always forget about them. And sometimes they're the most important people in the courtroom. So I think, when you go to the same courtroom a lot and you go to the same courthouses the same, you kind of know the flow and how judges want a certain paper flow, how they want things done, what they like to see, particularly in your even before you get to trial, in your motions and how you file. There's a preference definitely in the local courthouses. That's why local courthouses, even in San Bernardino, have local rules. And so I think that really, that helps in the paper flow, and it causes less delays than normal, especially when you're in the same courtrooms and same courthouses all the time. And I can tell you, that there's a lot of times I get, especially on cases where there's multiple plaintiffs or multiple defendants or whatever. And a lot of times with the defense attorneys will ask, well, do you know how this judge likes it? Or what do we need to do for this courtroom? So I get those questions a lot from out-of-state attorneys or out-of-county attorneys, like, how does this judge or how does this court like this? What do we need to do? And I tell them. So I think that gives us an advantage just in handling the case and just knowing the paper flow a lot better.
There's a comfortability too, right? Like where you walk into the court and you're like, I know this place. I know this place so well. I don't have to guess on anything. I'm not trying to figure anything out. Like, I just feel comfortable here.
Absolutely. And the comfortability, like you said, it extends even beyond being comfortable in the room. It's being comfortable even with your jury, knowing who your jury pool is. There is a huge difference in a jury pool between one county to another, even from courthouse to courthouse.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. Because they pull people from the local area. So when you're familiar with your juries and your jurors, after a while, they're the same type of people, the same type of personality. I mean, they have personalities. Juries have personalities for sure. Even though they're 12 separate people, when they come together, they have a personality that you're looking for, and your jury pool is the same way. San Bernardino County, definitely working class, middle class county, and a lot of military, a lot of retired military. So that's different than maybe, let's say, a downtown Los Angeles jury, where I don't even know if there is a local military base anywhere near that courthouse. So yeah, absolutely. And that is one thing that helps with our clients when our clients do go to trial and they're picking a jury of their peers. They know who they like and who they don't like. A lot of people forget about those details, but that's very important and has been in the past.
Do you develop a strategy kind of based on your understanding of the local judges, the court procedures, the opposing attorneys? And if you do, how do all those factors impact how you implement that strategy?
When you're talking about strategy, it's more of how to file your motions, when to file your motions, what courts want to see with your motions or with your jury trial. Typically in your civil cases, as of right now, things always change. They want your trial binders, they want your trial conference on a Thursday. They're typically on Thursdays. So you kind of know that with the judges and who wants all of your stuff that day and whether or not you can just bring it in on Monday. But also with filing, I'd say the bigger issue is really filing motions. And there's a procedure with a lot of motions that you have to follow. And a lot of times things may not seem like a big deal, but if a judge wants you to actually talk to opposing counsel, you have to actually talk to them or at least make an attempt. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times, I've had it happen and I've seen it where, certain motions are filed and there's no contact between opposing counsel and judges. Typically, and I've seen judges throw them out and say, redo it and come back, and it may take you a couple of weeks to get a new date. So it's just little things like that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like knowing those little nuances, like you said, for sure. Yeah. I think there's a perception maybe that the bigger law firms are the best options, maybe out of town firms, the ones you see commercials for perhaps. What do you feel clients gain from working with a local lawyer who truly knows the area, who knows the community?
Well, I always tell people, go with whoever you feel comfortable with. If you are comfortable with some fancy commercial and that's the reason you pick an attorney, go for it.
Hey, some of them have really nice commercials.
Some of them have really nice commercials, and they have commercials for, because they have big cases that they win, and that's fine if that's what you want. But if you're looking for more of a local, where you can come into the office, you don't have to go to like some closet or some small one office that they rent out that's in the area or make you drive to them. That's what we offer. So we offer those services that they don't necessarily offer. And I will tell you, I've worked with most of the big law firms and in my opinion, the biggest law firm several times in California. And a lot of times they ask me like, well, like I said, what do they like? What should we do here? Or what do you think we should do? Or why don't you take the lead on this? So bigger isn't necessarily always better. But like I said, if you're comfortable with that and that's how you pick an attorney, then that's what you should go with. But those big firms, they do go to every courthouse in the entire state, in multiple states. So for them, it's not a big deal to go to our local courthouse. I'm sure they've been there, maybe they come there once a year, maybe, who knows, but they do, they'll ask me, hey, what does this courtroom like, or what's the local rule in this courtroom? And like I said, what day should we schedule this for? What days do they want it scheduled for? So ultimately that, they'll figure it. I mean, trust me, a big law firm's not going to, be tripped up because they don't know the local courtroom rules. But like I said, it's more of a flow and more, like you said, comfortable, being comfortable. And, the other thing with the bigger firms, they're like any other big business. Their attorneys rotate in and out as well. The attorney you start out with may not be the attorney you end up with.
Right.
And you may get an attorney who's never been in a certain courtroom because maybe they're new to the area, or they just got assigned to that area, or they just got assigned your case. So you don't know. Yeah. So I mean, it's more of a being comfortable and knowing, just one less thing you have to worry about.
And I know that a lot of, obviously lawyers in your position, you have to work with medical professionals, investigators, experts. Can you kind of speak to how, having relationships with these people on a local level, can help foster these connections?
Yeah. I mean, all of our medical professionals, both on the work comp side and on the personal injury side, are people who live and work here, and doctors that I deal with all the time. They're not just somebody I got out of a database or, looked up on a network, but, doctors who work on liens, or doctors who will, treat for work. It's not a directory. They're people who we actually know and we actually use and work with every day. And also our doctors who get really good client reviews and that we hear good things about. There have been doctors in the past where we've heard our clients weren't very happy with them. And I'm talking about particularly at another firm that I used to work at. The clients weren't particularly happy with certain medical facilities and doctors. So you end up not using them. So the ones that we're using are ones that we consistently hear very good things about. Otherwise, we wouldn't keep sending our clients back or recommending or having our clients being able to choose which doctors they want. So absolutely, it's the same thing when you choose a local attorney. We're local. We're not in some huge directory. We're out there. And if you want to come on in, come on in.
Yeah. When I used to live in Chicago, and I had like Geico for my insurance and some other, financial advisor that I didn't know. And when I moved to a smaller city in Colorado, and I like kind of I have an insurance guy. I have a financial guy, you know what I mean? Like I have these people, I have a tax person, like I have people that live among my community, and there's something kind of nice about having that connection with them.
Yeah, and going back to going to your taxes and going to sometimes if you get a big settlement, you might have a structured settlement. We have people who are local who will deal with that and give you that tax advice, and will set up your settlement if it's a large settlement to last longer or get a better interest rate or whatever. And they're here, they're local.
Right.
Again, you don't have to drive 100 miles to get simple information like that or meet with the person who actually has your case.
Yeah, it's easy to talk to somebody when you need to talk to somebody.
It's easy, yeah. And so I met someone probably about a year or two ago who had hired a large firm from about 100 miles away, and they ended up, it was a tough case. They went to trial and they lost. They lost. I mean, they won, but they didn't win enough to cover the medical bills, and it happens.
Sure.
But the problem was with that was once the case was over, now they don't want to talk to you. They don't return your calls. There's medical providers. And when people don't return your calls, what do? You go to the office. What do you do when you go to the office? The office is 100 miles away, so, those are things to consider.
Yeah, for sure. Do you feel like living and working in the same community as your clients gives you a unique perspective on their cases? Does it help you advocate more effectively?
It does. I mean, it does, because you have more of a connection with them, because it's, typically when if you live right around me, and I don't want this to come out wrong, but it's like, you're my people. We are the same people. We live down the street from each other. We live a few blocks from each other. We know what it's like. So absolutely, if there's more of a personal connection for sure.
And do you feel like this familiarity, helps create a sense of trust and comfort for your clients throughout the process? Do you feel like can you feel more of a trust and comfort level from them because of the fact that they know you live in their community?
I do. Yeah, I do. And especially when times get stressful, and especially when cases get stressful, I do feel, and I don't take that trust lightly. I know that when they're stressed or they're worried and they're still trusting in me, that makes me step it up another level, just to make sure, they're taken care of, for sure.
Yeah, I could imagine that, the kind of to my point earlier about how, for the first time in many, many years, having people who live in my community representing me in different areas. It definitely, there is like a trust and a higher level of trust that I have. And I don't know if I can really explain it. I just feel a different level of trust compared to, having an 800 number I can call when I need to talk to somebody, rather than just, going down to my guy's office or giving him a call directly.
Yeah, and I don't want to disparage large firms at all.
Sure. Yeah. We're not trying to pick on the large firms.
Trust me, David's not picking on Goliath here, but it's just like any other business. If you're 100 miles away and this is a job to you, you're not as connected as you are to, like you said, somebody who's here and understands it, and other people who are affected by your case. And again, there's, what's that word? A rotation. There's a rotation of attorneys at bigger firms. They come and they go. But with me, I have your case and nobody else is taking it and nobody else is getting it. So there is that. But again, if you're comfortable with and you're okay with that, then that's what you want. Then that's who you should hire. Yeah,
like you always say, go with who feels right to you.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Can you share a case where your local knowledge of the community in the area helped you achieve a better outcome for a client than maybe an out-of-town lawyer might have?
Yeah, typically when fault is at issue, I have several cases where the roadway has become an issue. One case in particular, the police tried to put my client at fault, the police actually did not put my client at fault, but the insurance company did. But there was a design flaw on this road because it went straight and then it stops and then it moves over a little bit, and it's not a curve, and there's actually a yield sign, and there were all kinds of issues because this road was made about 100 years ago. It was probably a dirt road up until 20 years ago, and we ended up getting a really good result for that client because of that. And another case in particular was, again, the roadway, and the defendant turned left in front of our client. That's funny how that happens, but they didn't have that much insurance. But it was a bad intersection that I knew that just living here, that there's a lot of car accidents there.
Yeah,
so what do I do? I go in, I start looking, I start investigating, start finding all the accidents that are there. And to find fault with the city, there has to be so many accidents in so much period. So that way the city is on notice that this is a bad intersection. Well, I was able to do that I was pretty much able to do that. I didn't even have to send an investigator out at that point, and found that there was a design defect in the intersection where they should have had a certain type of left turn arrow as opposed to the left turn arrow that they had. And we ended up getting a lot more. That client would have gotten and of course the person who hit her, a $15,000 policy. Well, when you find fault with the town, now you've opened it up, and she had a lot more than $15,000 in bills. So you're able to get a lot more money out of it. And those are just two examples. I can give numerous examples. We'd be here forever, especially knowing the roadways. And because I read the paper like everybody else, you constantly see same intersections, the same area of always getting crash-ins and people always getting injured.
Yeah, that's a really good example, I think, too, because talk about nuance. When that left turn arrow, that intersection, when you said that, I can think of several intersections around me that I'm like, yeah, a lot of accidents happen there. You just know this stuff, and it helps you build your case. And I would especially imagine if you ever do have to get in front of a jury, there's that connection with them too, because they might understand that as well, and you can speak to that.
Yeah, and again, going back, not picking on a friend of mine who works at one of the larger firms in the county. He actually called me once and asked me about this intersection in the area, and I told him what I knew of it, and he was able to get a pretty good. He actually got a good settlement out of it. So again, do the big guys know? Not necessarily, but who do they call? A lot of times they call the local
guy.
Yeah. Like I said, we have a good relationship. We're friends, so of course he called me. But that's just how it works sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm a big fan of going local, so I really enjoyed this episode, and thanks for being here, Josh. And thank you for tuning into the Moody Lawyer with attorney Josh Moody. To connect with Josh, visit moodylawyer.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Josh, so good to see you. Looking forward to the next one.
See you next time. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.